Healing the generational cycles that are embedded inside of you. Here's an example. So y'all know I don't really normally talk about my clients, but I've been getting some out here in ATL. I'm so excited. This client was definitely interesting because her grandmother came through. And so for many of you guys who know, I see ancestors. And sometimes I can see the ancestors, ouch. Sometimes I can see the ancestors about 4 to 5 generations back. And sometimes I can see like souls, ancestors as well. It's pretty dope to see. And this one in particular, this ancestor was different because this client, she has 2 grandmothers, one that she knew all the time of her entire life, and spent most of her time with. And then there was the one that she would visit like on occasion. And the one that she would visit on occasion was like a really sweet grandmother. She was known for all of her niceness and being kind, and she was a stay-at-home wife and mother. And the second one was the grandmother who was the single mom. She had a child at 17, and she had to figure it out on her own. And this lady is about my age. So if we date back to her grandmother was probably born around the 1920s and 1940s. And so it was understood when it comes down to women that if you are a woman who was married with a husband, then you were living the American life. And if you were a single mom, you were the discarded woman. And this is 2 different polarities of women at the same time, around the same era. And if we look at the polarities of the 2 grandmothers, the one who was married with the children was deemed to have the plush life, and the one who had the baby out of wedlock, right, was the one that was the heathen or the whore. I want you guys to take a moment and think about this and put in the comments if you have had this kind of experience with your grandmothers. Now, the grandmother who had the baby at 17, she was pretty much discarded from her child's father. And the one who had the marriage, her husband cheated on her. Well, there were rumors that her husband had cheated on her. The interesting part of this story is that the grandmother who had the husband, my client knew a little bit more about her than the grandmother who had the one child and the one that she spent the most time with. Now, the grandmother who was a single mother, she had businesses and she was pretty affluent. But the thing with her was she married, but even the time that she did get married was very brief. So during this session, I kept running into a snag with one of the questions or the statements that I have if you decide on getting the session that I usually have people state. And it kept saying untrue. And sometimes when I have a little snag, it could be a soul issue. But this time was different. I promise y'all, I was stuck. I was so stuck. And then it came to me. Ask her about her middle name. Tell her to state her middle name. She stated her middle name, and then everything started to work the way that it should. That was her truth. But she and I were both befuddled. We were both confused. Like, how is this your truth? Like, that's not your first name. That's not it. I had to ask her, like, where did your middle name come from? And she was like, oh, that's my grandmother, the one that was a single mom. But at this moment, I was talking to her grandmother, the single mother, not her. And that was definitely a doozy for me because I'm like, how? Who? Okay. So what I found out was the grandmother that was the single mom, her story, her pain, her suffering, her lack of understanding in certain things wasn't shared. Her heartbreak wasn't shared. And in spite of her heartbreak, what did she do to make her life better? For the most part, my client, all she knew was that her grandmother was this woman who was independent, strongly independent. And then the other grandmother was super sweet and kind, but she was pretty much the person that got walked over. But the problem was that the single mother grandmother, her story wasn't told properly. All they knew was that she had all of these things, but they didn't know that she was doing all of these things from a broken heart. They didn't take in consideration how she felt and the experience that she had to endure by surviving in this time and being a single mother without the opportunity or the chance to be looked at again from a man if she wanted one. And then that same feeling and experience was embedded inside of my client. And this is an example of how generational traumas can be embedded inside of you and can hold you back from obtaining the life that you desire. What had happened was that my client has been desiring love, but her examples of love outside of her parents were the beliefs that were created from one side, her grandmother that was married, and how the grandmother that was married had to give up her entire life for her husband, or the grandmother that was independent and was a single mother but was very successful in a lot of the things that she did except her love life. And for her, the end results was to find the unity that she represents. She represented both women, and that because she represented both women, her life does not have to be the same as those two women before her. That she can make the choice to live the life that she wants and to have it the way that she desires. And in order for us to have set her single grandmother free, we had to share her story. If you like this, go ahead and hit that follow button. And if you want to book a session with me, go ahead and click the link in our bio and click on book a session.